What's up, guys? Paul from Golfers Authority, and welcome to the Behind the Golf Brand podcast. This week, we have a new brand coming to the space. I met them at the PGA show, was just blown away by their shoes, and they make awesome shoes. We actually done an unboxing with them a couple weeks ago, and I actually been wearing the shoes out on the course. But without further ado, I have my good friend Steve Gray from Duca del Cosma Shoes. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to talk about our company.
So usually when I start talking to brands, the way I always start them off is I always ask I want to know who these people are I'm talking to on the phone. And my first question I always ask is, what's your story, right? But I want to know more, what's your story, Steve? What's your story in the industry, and how did you end up at Duca del Cosma?
Well, yeah, it's a long story. So, because I've been doing this for a really, really, really long time. Way back, I was your typical, going back to high school golfer, went to college, played golf there, and then became a PGA golf professional for a large number of years, doing what PGA golf pros do. At some different types of facilities through my apprenticeship, and then eventually private country club, etc. And did that for 10, 12 years.
Wow.
Then at that point, I decided to make a change. As you're aware, there's lots of hours as a golf pro, not a lot of family time. So I thought it was my best interest with my family was growing at that point in time. That I would try my hand on the sales side of the golf industry. So I became an independent sales rep, went to the PGA show without a job, handed out my resume, did it the hard way, and got started in the industry as an independent golf sales rep.
That's awesome. So you literally just went out to the PGA show and was like, "Hi, I'm Steve," and then started talking to brands, gave me a resume, and that's kind of how you got somebody gave you a chance. Right?
Someone gave me a chance. It was back. Most of your listeners may not remember Lynx Golf.
LYNX, right?
LYNX, Lynx Golf.
They make clubs. I remember they make clubs. Yeah,
they make clubs. Carl Ross was the gentleman who owned the company. He was a hunter, went to Africa a lot, and hence sort of the name Lynx Golf. And he was an interesting individual because he made clubs for the public. He did not make clubs for tour players. It had nothing to do with the tour. Matter of fact, that was his badge of honor that no tour player would play with his clubs because his clubs weren't made for a guy who was going to shoot 68. His clubs were made for a golfer that was going to shoot 98. And so he had a lot of innovations in his golf clubs, casted golf clubs, etc. Back in the day.
What year was this?
Yeah, that was back late 80s. His big heyday was late 80s and early 90s is when he really was big. Lynx was a big brand at that point in time.
I remember them. I mean,
he had a club called Lynx Predator, which was a low profile club, a little shallower club head, a lot of weight in the bottom, allowed the golfer to get the ball in the air. So he made clubs. He actually made a hybrid club, a metal and a wood club at the time. Yeah, a real forerunner for what we see today. So he was quite innovative in his design and how he did business in the marketplace.
So what year did you get on with Lynx then?
That would have been 80, it goes way back, probably 85 or 86.
I bet the PGA show was a lot different back then too.
PGA show was a lot different, a lot smaller. Matter of fact, it was there was not the building across the street. There was not the grandiose building that we have today. It was just 1/3 that size when it started.
Oh my gosh, that place is huge.
Right?
I mean, it's massive. I made that mistake on past episodes, I talk about how I literally walked back and forth all during the PGA show because I wasn't aware that it was that big. It's massive.
It's massive. I think that city. Building is actually a mile long.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
So you got on with Lynx, and then how long were you? How long were you on with Lynx for? And what did you do? Did you just travel?
I was with Lynx for a few years, and then as an independent rep, you add lines and you add companies, and companies come and go. good or bad, and you try to, get your formula together, which is the best formula for you at that time. And so that's what you're always trying to find as an independent sales rep. But that eventually, that all really led me to Reebok.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, that led me to Reebok. And Reebok back in the day had signed an agreement with Greg Norman to just wear their logo on a shirt.
Wow.
He wore Slosons of shirts and had a Reebok logo on the sleeve. They made no golf product at all. Not a single thing.
Really? I never knew that. Holy smokes.
They didn't have a thing. And they had Greg Norman for a couple of years. And at that point in time, Reebok worked out of sales agencies across the country. They did not manage it corporately. So they had sales agency. And there was a sales agency here in Cincinnati that managed Reebok for this region, Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan, etc. And so they were Reebok was in the process of always getting started in golf. And it actually took them a long while. So my entry into Reebok was I actually got hired by the sales agency here locally to work for the agency to sell Reebok golf. And so I was in the first crew of Reebok sales reps that they hired in the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what year was that, would you say?
That
Early
goes
90s?
back. Mid 90s. Yeah, that they got started. Maybe late 90s they finally, got their act together and got the brand off the ground. So I was with Reebok, and obviously I had other brands, but I just really felt at the time that actually I was working for Callaway at the time.
Oh, really?
Callaway Golf was my club line. Yeah, a friend of mine in Michigan knew Dick Helmstetter, which was Ely Callaway's right-hand man. Dick Helmstetter actually was in charge of the hickory shafted clubs, because Dick Helmstetter had originally made pool cues, was his expertise. So he really knew a lot about the wood shafts. So my friend calls me, says, buy a ticket to California. We're going to go meet with Callaway Golf. Said, I don't want to go to Callaway. I don't want to fly to California, meet with Callaway Golf. I don't think hickory shafted wedges are the way to go in the industry. So he persuaded me that Callaway Golf was going to have a new product that was going to be out there. So we flew out, met with Illy Callaway, had dinner with him at La Costa, right down the road. And he hired my friend and I to be independent sales reps to go sell the Callaway golf club brand. And that time it was the introduction of the S2H2 iron that they had. Still one of the best irons they've ever made. Why they went away from it, I'm not quite sure. So I did work for Callaway Golf at the same time that I was.
Because you're independent, right? So as independent sales rep, you're gun for hire. Like
gun for hire. Yeah,
you're a mercenary. You're like, hey, I got the skills, and you guys can. I'm out. I'm not working for one company. That's
right.
Really cool.
Yeah, can't make it just on one company. And then Callaway was getting started. People didn't know a lot about Callaway at that point in time, but they really had a good product. They had a good iron. Everybody knew Reebok, certainly. If it wasn't at that time, it was nip and tuck with Nike.
Yeah,
it was who the biggest and the best was. And then so did that for a few years, and then there was sort of a crossroads where Callaway wanted to go to their own company sales reps, and Reebok had just introduced Greg Norman apparel. So I had a tough decision to make. So I stayed with Reebok and Greg Norman.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I stayed with Reebok and Greg Norman, Great White Shark Enterprises, and that's when the Shark came out, and that's when he started playing well, and the brand just
exploded.
Took off. Yeah, straw hats were crazy everywhere.
I still are, right? I mean, they're still that's still the standard, and it comes to straw hats. I mean,
straw hats. That Shark logo sold everything. And boy, some of those shirts were really ugly, but he wore them well, and he played well, and it was
the '90s.
Yeah, that's right. And Greg Norman had swagger, and he looked good, and he made the apparel look good.
Yeah, I remember those. I had a lot of ugly clothes back in the '90s. A lot of hot pink shirts.
Yeah.
What else? I
Yeah,
don't know.
we actually made a golf shoe with a hot pink insole inset in it, and orange and
It's so
lime.
90s. That's like so
Yeah, it's
90s.
so 90s. Yes.
I look at pictures when because I grew up in the 90s. Like I was in junior high and high school, and I look at those pictures. I'm just like, man, what was I thinking?
Yeah,
Because that was not cool, but it was cool back then.
that's right. It was cool. That was cool back then. And if you put a shark on it, and the shark wraparound shirt, the huge big white and black shirts that had a shark on them, those were you couldn't get enough of those. And,
so like pretty much you had two choices. You're like, well, I could go to Callaway when they're starting to blow up, or I could go with Reebok and Greg Norman while they're about to blow up. So it's like, it's like Sophie's choice.
Yeah, that's right. I really can't make a good or bad decision here.
Yeah, it's like I have to make one decision, but just not.
Right. Well, that was just before Callaway launched Big Bertha, so there was no way of knowing
before it exploded.
And I'm looking at Reebok at that time was like $1 billion brand. I just kept saying, well, they're not going to lose.
Yeah, it's a risk analysis, right? It's like
risk analysis.
Yeah, it's like, well, one's more of a sure thing. You know, I got right. And then, but I mean, still, it's like, what a choice to be made, right? It's amazing.
Choice to be made. So
this is why I love asking people their stories, especially about like golf, because like I love hearing how people like in this next generation. It's like people don't understand like the best way of getting your foot in the door is just to go out there and talk to people, right? Like that's all it really comes. And it's like everything with technology nowadays, it's a little bit different. You know, it's like, well, and I mean, that's kind of how I grew my brand. It's when I went and talked to people, and that's what you did. I mean, you just went out and your whole catalyst was you going to the PGA show with a resume, right? Like,
all right. Yeah.
And then now it's like building and building. And
you're not going to start with your dream job or the best job. And you have to go build it. So that's what I was fortunate enough to be able to do, is be able to get it. So I stuck with Reebok, and then there was another crossroads where Reebok came to us and said, well, you either need to work for Greg Norman or Reebok, because we're splitting the lines and you can't do both. And it was like, really? I've been doing both here for a long time, highly successful. So they told us, the shoe guys, because we had been originally Reebok shoe guys, that we were more hard goods guys. And so we should stay with Reebok, and they were going to take Greg Norman away because we really weren't soft goods guys. So I asked him, well, who was that guy that sold $1 million worth of software last year for you in my territory with Greg Norman?
It's like the bean counter trying to figure out like where to draw the line.
To draw the line. So I stayed with Reebok, and Reebok then signed John Daly. John Daly was the guy. John Daly, they signed. It reported the story was that they signed him the day after he won the PGA Championship. They flew to Indianapolis that day to sign him the next day. That's how quick things happen.
Yeah, now it's like we got to hurry. We got to
get it done. So we had John Daly, and then he became the spokesperson for the Reebok line of footwear and apparel. And that line was less costly than Greg Norman, and that was their intention, because they really wanted to take Greg Norman to department store is where they were with that brand. And then Reebok Golf was going to go to golf retail and golf shops. And but all along they had been more and more successful each year with golf footwear.
Reebok
had, yes. They had been more successful.
So this is like probably mid to late 90s, right? Like 90s.
Yeah.
7, 8, 9.
And through the 90s, all that was going on.
So pretty much Reebok had to make a choice. Like, so they split off. I didn't know the history. I love learning the history of like products and golf. I think it's fascinating. So at the time they split off Greg Norman because they wanted to put him in like big box retail and malls and stores and whatever, not just golf shops. And so they split that off. Then they signed up John Daly, and it's less of a price point. And then they were going to have him more in the golf shops. And I mean,
Yeah, golf shops and golf specialty stores.
Yeah. And catalogs and
right.
This is all like early internet. Internet was barely even around yet. So
Correct.
This is not
there was no internet interest at all in that business.
There's no e-commerce. There's nothing.
No e-commerce. It was all the vast number of golf specialty stores, which were many. There was Pro Golf around the country, had hundreds and hundreds of stores. All the small golf retailers. There wasn't Dick's and Galaxy and
all these little independents or regional golf stores. Like you see that kind of nowadays, right? Where they kind of come together. Some of the more regional, like just to sell, like worldwide golf shops, right? Like that's Vans.
Yeah, I mean, the worldwide's big. Yeah,
it's big, but they take all these stores and they, made it big because they were like, oh, let's take the regionals and put them all together. Because in Arizona we had Vans and another place they took on. I can't remember, but
so that was the day of the golf specialty store, and we were highly successful being able to sell that Reebok brand into the stores. I was at a golf course, a public golf course, a 36-hole golf course, and the pros explaining to me why golfers will not buy the Reebok golf footwear.
Really?
The golfers just are not going to buy an athletic shoe brand. Not going to happen. So as I'm sitting there talking to him in his pro shop, it's a municipal golf course, 36 holes, real big, lots of rounds. 4 golfers walk up to the cash register, and he doesn't see them, and I ask him to turn around and look at the golfers. He casually looks, what do you want me to look at? I said, well, turn around and look at them. He does again. I said, well, now turn around and look at them, look at their feet. All 4 guys had Reebok shoes on. He turned around, looked at me, and he goes, I guess I'm going to have to buy Reebok golf shoes.
No, yep.
Yeah, you're going to skip the number 1 brand in the world right now and not have it in your shop. That would not probably be a good decision.
That's a good sales. It's like, and then I went outside and I paid the guys off.
No. Exactly. Those guys drove.
Then I paid for the round.
Yeah, they drove everywhere I went. Correct.
They were in the back of the van.
They were in the back of the van. I just sent them in to
back of the Astro van, driving across the Midwest.
Right. And then, Reebok was a shoe company, and it did a lot of shoe research. They had their research building, and they genuinely tried to make a really good product that was for the athlete. These shoes are going to do something for you. They're not just shoes. They're going to work.
If you're walking too, like if you're walking a lot.
Exactly. You're going to walk in these shoes. You're going to wear them all day. And, that really gave me a great background in shoe construction and, why shoes do what they do, why they make them the way they make them, and why light golf shoes aren't necessarily good shoes. We always equate, those are light. Well, yeah, they're light. Are they going to work? You're not at a picnic. Yeah. You're going to go walk 5 miles over hill and dale. You might want those shoes to actually work, to
be super comfortable.
And perform. And work. Yeah, because golf is like a lot of sports. It's a walking forward motion sport, uphill and downhill. So you need to support your foot in those directions. But it's a lateral sport, much like tennis. If you're going to swing 100 miles an hour, and if you watch, the golfers watch Bryson DeChambeau and watch all the footwork of all those players, that shoe takes a beating. And if that shoe is very flexible, it isn't going to work. It just does not give your foot support when you make that swing.
Really? Yeah, because the twisting and the.
When a golfer swings, they're supposed to roll over onto their left foot. That foot rolls. And if that shoe torques and doesn't hold your foot in place, that's a tough balance issue for you.
Yeah, for sure. So what year was that, would you say then?
So I worked for a number of years, and that led me really to 98, 99. When was the Ryder Cup in Boston?
I can't remember. I can look
when
it up.
When the Crenshaw team won. Well, that year, Reebok Corporation decided that it was going to close its
99. It was a
99.
Yeah,
they were going to close their less profitable divisions because their main shoe divisions weren't doing well. So hiking, biking, outdoor, and golf. So they actually closed a $30 million business because it wasn't good enough.
Oh my gosh.
Today, golf companies would kill to do that kind of business.
Heck yeah.
So they planned for a year. And in that interim of time, I sort of skipped that. I actually left the golf sales rep business and became a sales manager at Reebok.
Oh, wow.
So I moved from the sales side, and that's how I got to the management side. I became a regional sales manager for Reebok. And so I was working, helping the sales reps in the East and seeing the major accounts, like Dick's Sporting Goods. That was, seeing those types of accounts with Reebok and managing that business. So that was my full-time job at that point in time.
And then they said, "Hey, we're not going to sell golf shoes no more.
We're going to close the business."
Because we're not making enough money. It's not basketball.
You're correct. It's not basketball. It's not track. Exactly. So we're going to get out. So at the end of the year, we're going to close the business. So you need to be looking for a job. You got all year to do it. So start looking for a job, because the company's all these jobs are going to go away. And I was fortunate that a past Reebok employee that I knew, he had moved on to Ashworth, and nice. I just transitioned from one day to the next, from working for Reebok to being a regional manager for Ashworth.
You're like, peace out, next job.
Next job, yeah. I left.
That's the thing too, because it's like people don't realize, because I didn't realize this as well. I honestly did not know this, but like the golf world is very, very, very small, right? It's a very small. I mean, you think, oh, it's massive. No, it's like teeny, because everybody knows each other in some weird way, and it's just don't burn bridges, and be cool with people. And I think I don't know. And then there's another perfect example. So a friend of yours was at Ashworth and was like, "Hey, come over here."
Right. Yeah. We're going to need regional managers, and
our competitors going away completely.
Competitors, they're going away.
And the market, and the region. And
that's right. You already know all these people. So we're just going to do that. So I was fortunate to go to the number one golf apparel brand at that time in the business. So that was an easy transition.
Wasn't hard at all.
That wasn't hard. That wasn't a hard decision to go there. But so I worked at Ashworth for a few years, and then an old opportunity from a company that I'd worked for in the past, Gear for Sports, which is in Kansas. You have some gear. Everybody's got something from Gear for Sports in their closet.
Really?
You don't know it. If you ever bought a sweatshirt at a bookstore?
Oh, I did. Lots of them in college.
That's a Gear for Sports item right there. They are the number one collegiate provider of T-shirts and sweatshirts and decorated items pretty much in the country. And at that time, certainly they were. They wanted me to come and manage their resort destination business. A little bit out of golf. Resort destination is anywhere you go on vacation and you buy something for a remembrance of having been there.
Like
you buy a
shirt.
T-shirt, you buy a hat, you buy a sweatshirt, you buy a jacket, and it says Hilton Head on it. That's what Gear for Sports did.
Oh my gosh!
And their stuff and Gear for Sports product was always the most expensive. We sold at wholesale price what other companies were selling their sweatshirt for at retail.
It's because I just went to the website for Gear for Sports. It's like they're cheap. I mean, they're a big company. Now Hanes owns them. It says
correct,
but it's Champion and it's all those, and it's like, oh yeah, I had a Champion shirt. Right. It's
they're really a decoration company. They really do great decoration, print and embroidery and art, and they're just an efficiency machine at doing that.
Distribution,
the whole thing. And then over the years, they've evolved. I mean, they acquired the Under Armour license to do decorated Under Armour. So if you see Under Armour at a golf shop, that's from Gear for Sports, which is now owned by Hanes, which they also do the same for Champion.
That's crazy.
So Hanes owns them, and they have the Gear for Sports brands, Under Armour brands, and Champion brands.
Wow.
And they do all the decoration on those products.
Like the screen printing and the embroidery and
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the embroidery. So that was a move for me to Kansas. My family stayed here in Ohio, so I worked there for a few years, and that just ran its course of not living at home.
Yeah,
For 2 years.
the apartment of your dreams,
The apartment of my dreams,
and flying home on Friday, leaving on Monday night.
Exactly that. So that got to be tiring, and so
old. Yeah.
And old, and that was back 2004, probably in that neighborhood. And then I decided to come back here and then start my own business model, which was actually the Gray Sales Group, and I just became an independent sales manager.
Oh, that's cool.
Rather than an independent sales rep, I didn't want to go back to being a sales rep. I had all the contacts, I had all the experience. I knew a lot of sales reps across the country, so I just went to smaller companies and said, maybe more arrogantly than I intended, you can't afford me, but you cannot afford not to have me.
Exactly.
You need a manager. You need to know, you need these skills, but you certainly can't afford me full time. So I'll work part time for you and other companies at the same time. And so that's what I've done since probably 2004.
Oh my gosh. It's kind of cool because what you did is like you built, many years of industry experience plus the connections plus like just the day-to-day how-to, right? And
Right.
And a lot of these smaller, and it still occurs today, right? Small and mid-sized brands, if they have a really good product, they just can't get it out in the marketplace.
Yeah, they often they're an entrepreneur that has a good idea, that has a good product, but they don't necessarily come from golf heritage. They have some skills, but they really don't have the connections, the management skills, the depth of understanding of the industry, and thus they need someone to do it. But they can't afford that. They can't afford that qualified person. So depending on what, and it's been, maybe 100 different companies over the years, and then I would do other smaller projects for companies as well. If a company just wanted to hire sales reps and me not manage, I would just go hire sales reps for them. I'd find them and hire sales reps, and that might be a one-off project that I would do for a month or two, and then that's all I would do for them, and then I would be gone. So that was good because there's always new startups in golf. There's not
all the time,
all the time. There wasn't a lot of people who did what I did. There are a few, but not a lot, and so that was really just the diligence of finding those individuals and finding the need of those individuals and what they needed at a certain point in time. So that's what I've done until that really leads me to Duca del Cosma. I'd seen Duca at the PGA show, and Duca del Cosma's been there for 3 years in a row. This last year of January of 20, I had seen them and talked to them briefly in January of 19, and they weren't ready to enter the U.S. market at that point in time. They had looked at it, they had been to show, they were doing exposure, gathering information, doing what they needed to do their due diligence to get here. And they had hired an individual to help them in that process, much like what I did.
Transitioning over the
transitioning, sort of get them started in that infrastructure time. And then this January, that position, if you will, there really wasn't a need for it, and that individual was moving on to different projects because that's not what he did. Mm-hmm. So they were looking for someone to manage the United States, and they were looking for their title. They were looking for a CEO
of the United States.
Of the United States, of North America.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly didn't have CEO credentials because I've not been a CEO of companies, although, at one time I managed $25 million worth of business for a company. So had a pretty good idea what we needed to do. But I met with them and they were very gracious to meet. And then I really just sold them on that they needed me, that they needed what I knew. They needed a salesperson and a sales
in the
U.S.
Yeah, in the U.S.
Not CEO type of thing. I really hit it off with them. I really liked.
They're very nice. They're very, very nice people. Like I met them at the show, and I was like, "Oh, these are really nice people."
Yeah, yes. For those listening, Duca del Cosma, we are an Italian fashion brand, Italian fashion golf footwear. but we're a Netherlands-based company. So the Dutch, which is really nice. Their second or first language is English, along with Dutch. So it was easy to get along. But really nice, really great corporate atmosphere. Very, very nice people. Very down to earth, very straightforward. They're very honest, very frank in what they tell you. And that worked well for me. I told them what I felt that I could do. And I loved what they were doing in footwear. The fact that they had a compelling point of difference. They just weren't saying, well, geez, we just got a golf shoe. Would you like to buy it? They had a compelling point of difference. And the compelling point of difference was really their fashion of the footwear. I mean, it's an Italian fashion footwear company. And so I said, that's something I can get behind. That makes sense to me, what they're doing. And so we talked back and forth, and I started officially working for them full time in March of this year.
So tell like the audience like what kind of how Duca del Cosma started. Like I know they're a European brand and they've been building traction, but this year they've really just like, I mean, even with COVID, they've just like
we've just
up. I mean, they blew up in the U.S., which they deserve. Like wholeheartedly. Like I have a pair. Hold on a second, but I'm gonna grab. I have a pair right here. So yeah, I mean, there's like I don't know if you can see them on my screen, but here's mine.
Oh yeah, that's a pair of Monterosas.
I mean, they're sick. I mean, they're so cool.
They're very nice shoes. I mean, our story is a very interesting story. Baldovino Mazziazzo, an Italian apparel designer,
a German guy.
Actually, his significant other, Angela, she was German.
Oh.
She was a designer, and they were avid golfers. And they looked at golf shoes and they go, these are really boring. They're all white, black, and gray. There's nothing interesting about them. They look like boats, and we can do a lot better. So they set out to create a fashion brand in the marketplace and selected the name Duca del Cosma. That's the Duke of Cosma, an area in Italy. It doesn't have any other really significant reason. But
it's a cool name.
Cool name. Yep. Cool logo. Italian fashion brand, Duca del Cosma. And then they were on their way. And they were really, no pun intended, they were really creating out-of-the-box designs. I mean, these designs are not what you were seeing from golf then or now. And so they won many international awards for a number of years, kept growing the business.
In Europe, right?
In Europe, in Europe, throughout
primarily,
nothing, a little bit here in Florida in the United States, but not very much.
It's just hard. It's hard for a brand to come across the ocean. Like I talk to so many brands and I'm like, seriously? Like, oh yeah, it's so hard. Like
it's so hard. It's just so difficult. But then what really came to light was in 2015, Frank von Wezel had always worn the shoes, loved the brand, loved the idea. Frank was able to acquire Duca del Cosma. Now, Frank was the founder of High-Tech shoes, and High-Tech is still a major shoe brand in the world, outdoor shoes. And at one time, they had High-Tech golf shoes. But Frank had sold High-Tech, but loved golf shoes. He owns some other brands, Magnum, Interceptor, and 50 Peaks, some other international brands around the world. So he purchased Duca del Cosma, and then he applied his significant shoe experience in these few short 6 years, to grow the brand to being distributed in 30 countries around the world.
Wow.
New international headquarters in the Netherlands, brought in kept Baldovino, kept Ange. They're still the creative design of the company. So the
design doesn't change. Yeah.
The design doesn't change.
The innovation and the cool
The innovation, nothing changes. But he just brought the experience, and our CFO of the company is a 20-year, 25-year more experienced gentleman who owned footwear production companies who manufactured shoes. So everybody within the company has a tremendous amount of shoe experience and understanding why and how.
So it's like a startup, but with people that know what they're doing.
Exactly. It's a startup with people who've already done it many,
Yeah,
many
exactly.
times.
So yeah, it's not like,
Right.
oh, well, this is a good idea. Let's try this. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we know what we're doing, so we're going to build this brand. And then this was their plan all along to get to the U.S., and this was to be our grand launch starting in March. Our distribution center is in near Atlanta. Our corporate office is in North Palm Beach, which never got open because the COVID virus hit, and everybody from the Netherlands had to go home,
Oh,
and
gosh.
they've not been able to return since. Now I've visited a few times, but so we're running operations really logistically from the Netherlands with our distribution center in Atlanta, and myself here in the United States. And so that's really that was our introduction into the U.S. this year.
So what made you want to join them? Like, what you thought was so cool?
Well,
with your industry experience in shoes, like what made you think, wow, this is really cool. I want to be part of this.
Well, it first was the fashion look. It was a little out there. There were a few shoes I looked at. Oh, I'm not going to wear that shoe, but boy, I would really wear that one. And when you analyze that on the surface, no one else is doing any of those things. It's not FootJoy. It's not Nike. It's not an athletic shoe brand. We're not making boring gray mesh golf shoes for Dustin Johnson. That's So we really had that compelling point of difference in the fashion side of it. And then when I really examined the brand further and really looked at it, the next part that struck me, and I've always been associated with quality brands and quality companies, and you've got a pair of shoes there. The quality is just off the charts. Even the box that you got those shoes in,
Yeah, it's really
that's
nice.
like no one else's box. Those are leather shoes. Those are leather lined. Our shoes. So when I examined the quality and found out the story, we make all of our shoes in Europe by family-owned companies in Portugal. So they care when they make a shoe that it turns out right, not mass production.
That's why I love these European shoe companies, because I work with a couple. I work with you guys. I work with Royal Albert Ross. I work with Lambda.
Same vein of those.
Yeah, and this is the quality of those European shoes. It's like, these are not shoes made in China. You know what I mean? Like,
correct.
These are like handmade, nice shoes. You get what you pay for, right? And they're like, that's my opinion. I don't know.
That is it. That's exactly it. So it was the fashion, and then it was the quality of the product. When you just pick it up, feel it, touch it, actually smell it when you open the box.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, on the screen, it looks, I know it's on a camera, but like, it's super soft, right? I mean, the design is like cool. I mean, it's the best way I can describe it. Like, there's no detail that was missed. They didn't skip over it. It's like they really did a good job making a quality shoe that looks cool, but it's functional.
It's functional. Yeah. So we do pay attention to all the details. We put an Italian flag on the tongue.
I know, I love it.
To make to match our brand. We put 2 color shoelaces in every shoe. So you can decide which color shoelace do I want. Do I want to be a little more fashion or a little less? But all the detailed stitching and sewing, and you can really see it in the shoes when you examine them. So the fashion, and then it was the quality, and then when I learned about the performance of the shoes, and I think when the customers go to our website, the viewers, Duca del Cosma.us. If you scroll down a little bit, there's a video there, a little bit about the company and about how we make the shoes. So when you see the shoe making process of how many hand steps and people hand sewing shoes, and we use in our waterproof shoes, we actually use a waterproof sock that goes inside the shoe that's seam sealed. Yeah, most shoe companies don't do that anymore. That's too expensive. So when we say our shoe's waterproof, it's waterproof because it's got a full booty liner inside that shoe, like another shoe, that is breathable and waterproof. Down to the leather linings of the shoe. We have a special insole in the shoe called Iron Flex, ARNE. It's also cork lined. It won't compress. So when we looked at, wait a minute, these guys have fashion shoes. They have the best quality that I've seen. They have all the performance aspects of every technical shoe made by the other athletic footwear brands. this shoe is made more technically sound than their shoes.
They just look good. I mean, like
that's the Eldorado. Yeah, that's the more conservative, good player, serious player shoe.
Yeah, I mean, like I will scroll down, but like it looks.
There you go.
It looks really good. I mean,
yeah, those two shoes won our Golf Digest award, La Spezia and Festiva. Festiva is the women's counterpart to Monte Rosa.
Oh, it is.
Yep,
it does look a little bit like it. Yeah.
Yeah, we were a little surprised they chose both of our white golf shoes, but that just shows how incredible our fashion is that we won with white golf shoes.
Yeah, white. I mean, that's white. Not your main thing. Like no, here we'll look down. Yeah, like those are really cool.
Camelot's a good seller. Cognac color has been huge for us in the U.S. There's not many of the athletic brands that make brown shoes. So brown shoes, but you can see the detail there of how well the shoe's made, the stitching, the eyelets, everything about it.
The thing about the shoes, and this is my opinion, is, I mean, yeah, it's a golf shoe, and yeah, you can wear it on the course, but you can wear this to work. You know what I mean? Like you wear the khaki pants. It looks like a nice modern shoe you would buy at a major retailer.
Yeah, that's a Nordstrom's. That's a Nordstrom.
That's a Nordstrom shoe. Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, and you're exactly right. And we have many pictures. You and most people do. Where a lot of people buy our shoes and they may not play golf in them. They may wear them for fashion.
Oh, that's cool.
So
you have a Monte Rosa and cognac. Oh wow, that's really neat.
Yeah. That's a great shoe to wear with khakis.
I mean, I have the white one. I love the white one. I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh, that is really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. You see the two shoelaces in there.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of it, I think you just flashed there the women's style shoes.
Down below.
Well, you click the women's on the left. But the women's models, we just didn't. A lot of shoe companies. We've got 3 shoes. Here they are. They're pink and blue and white, and they're done.
Yeah.
If you look at ours, we have 20 plus women's shoe models and colors, and they're not ordinary by any means.
No, they're modern, and like they have the modern nice shoe. There's a European flair to it, but it's still really super cool. Right. And it's like you said, it's not the baby blue, the light pink. It's not an afterthought. That's what that's kind of the trend, right? It's an afterthought. Make a women's shoe. Let's make it blue or pink.
Right, I think that's a great way to say it. For us, the women's market's not an afterthought. We really work at it. We produce good-looking shoes for them with fashion in mind. But moreover, Cubana there. Really cool. Here, the zebra print has been big for us. Animal prints are big.
Yeah.
We sell a lot of that. It's a great fitting shoe. You can wear that shoe anywhere. That's Festiva, which is a very nice, good, easy casual shoe. But we did with the women's product as well. It has the same. There's right there. The California and the shoe is a great shoe to wear with jeans.
That's cool. Yeah.
But we produce the women's shoes are produced the same as the men's, same features and benefits, same quality. We didn't lessen anything for our women's line.
It's just cool. So here's my story, Duca. Like when we were at the PGA show, it was like the second to last day, I think. I don't know. It was the last day. And I mean, I've been all over the place. And I work with a lot of shoe brands. And I saw Duca out of the corner of my eye. Their location. And I was like, this is cool. And I was like, just stopped, because usually that's the first thing, right? Like it wasn't. And then I went over to talk to him. I was talking to, I think her name is Evelyn.
Evelyn,
Evelyn. She's so nice. So I was like talking to her. I'm like, these are really nice shoes. And she was like, telling me all about the company. I'm like, wow, these are going to blow up. These are really nice. And that's how I started working with you guys, right after the PGA show, literally.
But if you scroll, go back on the homepage. But on that homepage, if you scroll down to the very bottom, that's where they can view the video.
It's a great website too.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. If you click on that arrow, that's what they can see. A minute. I'll be quiet if you want to let it play for a minute.
Not sure if we'll be able to hear it.
I can't quite hear the music, but this is.
I'm going to mute the sound so that if people see it.
Right.
So what we're doing right now, if you guys are listening to the show, is they have a video on the site on literally how they make like every shoe, and they're handmade. It's not like made in a factory in China. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
these
they're getting
are,
a great, there's the waterproof booty that goes in the shoe. So, putting in the metal eyelets, detailing, that's pulling the shoe over last. They got to do that on every single shoe. They
that's
dry every shoe.
crazy.
I mean, two lace, wax.
It's like a work of art. I mean, there's a lot of time
It
and
is.
money put in each one of these shoes. It's not like you get, like I
Correct.
said before, you get what you pay for 100%. And, you can see just by this video, like it takes a lot to.
Yeah, it takes a lot to make the shoe. So that's just a little, how the shoes are made,
That's cool.
etc. So
That's really neat that you guys got on the hot list. It's like your first year, right? On the hot list.
First year hot list. We have a lot of awards in Europe, but
That's a big
this year
deal.
for Just Hot List award winner. That's a big deal for us.
I like your website too, because it's very clean and it looks like, I don't know. I like
Yeah,
websites.
very, very, very simple. We have a technology story that they can look at. They want to see how the shoes are actually, what the technology is in the shoes, and they can learn about what we do. But as I tell people, we are the real deal. We are a shoe company. We make shoes, and we know what we're doing. We're not trying.
That's what I love about the podcast, is because, like, I know a lot about the brands I work with, but I don't know a lot. I mean, I don't know about, I get how this whole podcast started was I have phone calls all the time with, it's my friends. I work in the industry, right? But different brands, and we talk about strategy and what's happening. And I'm like, you know what? I was at the PGA show this year, and I was like, people would really love to hear this, because I think they'd have a better appreciation, not for just the brand, but like just they want to know about it, And I feel it's a good way of just exposing brands to the wider audience. So, I mean, I learned a lot today personally, because I didn't know any of this stuff. So this is cool.
Yeah, it's good. And it helps them too when they're making a buying decision, regardless of what product, to understand, why am I doing this? A few of our shoes like El Dorado, they're going to pick it up and they're going to go, well, that's heavy. Yes, it's heavy. It's heavy for a reason. It's a better shoe. It's all made out of, it's all leather. There's no mesh in it. It has a TPU outsole. That's thermopolyethylene. That's the strongest, best material to make it out of. So that shoe is going to have the highest performance value for you when you play with that shoe. Other shoes that are mesh designed, yes, they're very light and they feel very comfortable. They don't offer a whole lot of support. They're, they might be good to go to a picnic in. I'm not so sure they're good to play golf in all day. So there's trade-offs and everything that, the golfer has to look at. And so that's, what we're trying to do, with our shoes. So the fashion part, the quality, the performance, and then the comfort issue. We make comfortable golf shoes. They fit. We make great insoles. A lot of the comforts is designed into the shoe from its construction. And then I think our other strong attribute, what really brought me to the company, was the selection. It's not just one shoe.
No, you guys have a lot of shoes. I mean, you probably have 30 SKUs at least. I can see you have a bunch.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of SKUs, and this is only what we have here in the U.S. This is not
every market's different.
We have in Europe, and we actually also have a catalog just for winter shoes.
Oh, that's cool.
Winter boots, winter golf boots, so you can play all winter.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so those are cool. So
are they going to come to the United States this year or what?
Those not this year. No, there'll be no winter shoes this year.
Are you sure? Because I mean, the Masters isn't going to get played in November.
Well, that's right. We should, but our fellow Canadians have them. But we don't have them here in the U.S. yet. So
is it crazy how much golf exploded this year? Like, I think it's great.
It is.
I mean,
rounds are way up. Yeah, rounds of golf are up, I think, 37% national.
Is that what it is? Oh my gosh. I know a lot of people I talk to are telling me we're sold out. I mean, we can't get. This is the other thing too. What I like about you guys is, like, you guys you have a distribution center in the United States, right? You make the shoes in Europe.
Yep.
Many brands make it in Asia, right? So, like,
correct.
COVID hit is like complete lockdown with Asia for 2 months at least, right? So now it's like everyone's backlogged. They can't get their product unless they want to pay a fortune air carrier handling, right, for shipping.
Right.
So it's like with you guys, like, well, we're in Europe, so
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier.
Well, yeah, and we were fortunate that we were already looking ahead. We had inventory
You were
already here.
primed.
We already had inventory built and on the way and had it already here. So from that standpoint, we were in great shape.
Yeah. So what's coming up for this year then with Duca that you can share?
Yeah, well, right now we're introducing the new shoes of this year. Most shops have not seen any of our shoes due to the COVID virus and the shutdown in many areas. So our sales team is out currently pre-booking for spring of next year. And as soon as we all in the industry learn about the PGA show, that'll give us more direction as to what we introduce and as to when.
So I'm kind of on the fence, right? I think it's a 50-50 chance. Before I was like, oh, there's no way in hell. And now I'm like, well, they might have it still because money talks. So, I could see them still having it and everyone wearing masks. Like I could see them doing that because the industry needs the PGA show, right? They do.
Yeah, the industry. Yeah, I mean, their other two major hurdles are the other companies from around the world can't travel there. Europe can't come to the United States. Asia can't come. So all the Asian companies and all the European companies, they can't be there. So, Duca del Cosma, it would be me because I'm already here, but our staff could not come from the Netherlands to here.
Yeah. And it's like, and then it's the question, it's like, yeah, I didn't think about it that way because if you can't, if half your team can't come, right? I mean,
right.
A lot of companies are not just the United States. So, if you can't come to the United States, then it's like, what's the point of getting a booth, right? Because you can't.
Well, correct. There's that. And then there's the PGA show to most people in that industry don't realize how much business to business is done there. Most companies, companies or whatever, they're seeing all their Asian counterpart manufacturers to look at new fabric, to look at new designs, to look at innovation, and then none of the Asian countries will be here to show any of their fabrics and technology.
Literally everybody's there. This is my first time. Last year was my first time going, right? And my father had gone before, and like everybody's there. If you're a manufacturer, all your counterparts are there. Everyone's there to do business because they're not just there for the show. They're there for like a week, right? Because they have to see all the companies. And what was kind of cool, like you see, if you go, I mean, I saw this because there's like that second floor and you can look down, like those big, like tunnels or whatever. You can see, there's so many, you don't realize that business is happening. There's buyers there. There's, for fabric. I mean, it's like the whole, I don't know.
I mean, you're absolutely, and then you have the other side of the business, which is the social selling side. Every one of those major hotel lobbies every night is filled.
Oh, packed.
Everybody is in there doing business in some way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
you're meeting with somebody that you saw at the show. Say, hey, I'll meet you for a drink. Let's go over this. Let's go over that. And then
introductions are being made, and
you probably can't get a hitting spot at Top Golf right now if you tried for that week.
No.
That they're all sold out.
Oh, yeah. So, it's like, yeah. I think it's a 50-50 chance, but I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know. They canceled the one in Las Vegas, didn't they?
They canceled Las Vegas. So, and then there's the last factor, will the buyers come? Will they travel? And oftentimes a lot of pros are traveling from the Northeast and the Midwest down to play golf for a week, go to PGA classes, or take their family to Disney. So are they going to do that? That's so we don't know.
I think it's a 50-50 chance. I don't know. Yeah. Before I was like, there's not a chance in hell. But now I'm like, it could be a chance.
Well, we're hoping because we want to, because we've got a lot of exciting things to talk about.
I don't know. I hope it does. It was fun. I mean, it was, to me, I was more excited about seeing my friends and then doing business. And I wasn't even doing business. I was just like walking around, talking to brands and meeting people finally. So I don't know. I hope they have it.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see.
If we do, you and I can meet up and have a drink.
There we go. Exactly. Business.
Or two.
Yeah.
Well, great, Steve. Well, I just want to say thank you for being on the show. Duca del Cosma, I like I said before, I really liked I liked their shoes the first moment I saw them. They're a great company, you guys, and they come out with some really cool, innovative shoes that are well made. It's not some cheap stuff, and you definitely, if you're looking for something that's like cool but still functional and works like on the course and off, then you need to check that out. And so I just want to say thank you for being on the show today, Steve.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And hopefully all the viewers will get to ducadelcosma.us and take a look at the shoes.
Cool. They will, because I'll make them.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Very good. Thank you.